somewhere down the paradigm themselves. I rarely recommend orthotics, but if I do, because some people do need them because of the torque around the subtalar joint in particular, and if they have a fixed forefoot varus, some forefoot support, I generally will stick with a soft orthotic because again, I think it may be more proprioceptive than it has anything else to do with actually controlling the foot. I generally will work with a foot balance orthotic, and I work a lot with cadence because I do believe that cadence makes a huge difference to them. And I work a lot with Polar with my guys, or if they have a Garmin, I just get them to buy a foot pod because I don't want them running to music and I don't want them trying to run with a cadence meter on. Instead, what I try and do is get them to be able to look at their watch periodically and tell them exactly what their cadence is. So it's a great minimalist shoe for all their track work. If they respond positively to that, then I'll get them to do all their short distance tempo work with it. And if they respond well to that, then perhaps we'll do their LSD as well. And this makes sense as far as cadence is concerned because their interval work is all going to be at a faster cadence anyway. They're naturally going to mid-foot strike without you doing too much conversation with them naturally. And this is what we used to do in the old days anyway. So I think this is just a very natural transition. And what happens is, I hate to say it, but you sell 2 pairs of shoes. And it's a good way of actually transitioning people and allowing that adaptation that Blaise refers to. And I think I do not have any problems with my people doing this. And I don't care if they're 18 years old or they're 55-year-old half marathoners, 4-hour plus marathoners. My guys all are moving this direction, but in a very controlled environment. And I don't have a problem with people adhering to my rules. So when you're watching a guy like this, and if you're doing analysis in using your own treadmill, it's really complicated. So I froze him up, and this is what he looks like when he's on his right leg mid-stance. This is what he looks like when he's on the left leg. Right leg, nice spine, nice pelvis. Now, there's no way in hell I could have picked this up if I didn't do frame-by-frame analysis and froze it. So please be careful with gait analysis in your shops. The only reason you should have a treadmill is get them to run on it and find out whether they like it or not. And to also get them on there so they can understand what a 70 to 180 cadence feels like, and to give them some basic information on it. I know that Luke and I have been working along with John on creating a spot on Sport Leader where they can actually go home and you can refer them to a spot on the site where they can actually do some drills on their own. Because that time in the shop is extremely important. You do not have time to be able to teach each person that comes in there. You need to be able to have a mechanism to be able to provide them with the information easily. And I think that's the Sport Leader medium is a great way of doing it. This is an example of one of my clients, and the difference between the left shot, which is really ugly, right? Obviously, he has a huge spinal problem. You can see that his head sits way off, his left shoulder is high. If you look at his pelvis levels, even the strap of my heart rate monitor, that's put on straight. That's what he looks like when he ran. I gave him, and guess what? He runs in minimalist shoes, and he runs at about 178 cadence. Okay, like this guy, according to the rules, should look a lot better than what he is. But that's the individual that you're trying to fix with your shoes and with some basic stuff. And the fact is, what really made a difference to him is he could not control his movement through the right leg. We were doing everything we can to treat around that area. So what we did was, for a very short period of time, we left him he's running in Canberras. All we did was we switched him up and we put a foot balance to help control give him more proprioception to the right side. Those are 1 week apart. Okay, yes, I'm treating him, but I had been treating him up to that point. That's 1 week apart, and I told him to quit flicking. He was a big left arm guy. And all I did was tell him to keep 90 degrees at the elbow and to concentrate on just keeping head position. But there's nothing else that I did with this guy. And it's made a huge difference because of chronic right knee problems. That's where in the end, he's not going to require the orthotic, right? And it's not an expensive one, and it's something that you guys can do within your own shop.
Daniel, how long will you keep
as soon as I can put him on a treadmill and take it out, and for him to be able to freeze frame him and look at him individually. Yeah, and it could take him up to 6 months because there was a long history of low back problems. This is strictly neuromuscular problem on that side, and it's going to take him a little while to be able to adjust, but it has made him, given him the ability to run. And as everybody knows here, the best way of becoming a better runner is to be able to live to run again the next day, right? The other thing that we haven't really discussed, there's a bit, like Blaise talked a bit about the efficiency of VO2. This is the real cool thing about when I monitor these guys in the lab. So efficiency, I think you need to be able to identify is doing the thing right, and effectiveness is doing the right thing. And this is, I've got into a good conversation with John here the other night. The difference between a guy with 20 years of experience in a lab and a guy with 30 years of experience as a running coach, and how we can interact better based upon the ability of doing the right thing is a coach's thing, and the efficiency thing, I think we can really improve on that with science. You guys could do the same thing within your own shops, looking at effectiveness and efficiency of running, because essentially that's all your clients are asking you for. They're asking you to help them to be able to be better runners. So if you look at the classic runner, that's always what they want, right? They always want to see performance improvements. They want to see their PBs. But what they should also be reminded of is what they want to do is see decreased energy expenditure and decreased injury rates. This goes back to the ability to live to run again the next day. If you are using excessive energy levels or excessive energy expenditure, then what you're going to do is you're not going to be able to train as hard the next day. And of course, if you're injured, you're not going to be able to train the next day. So we want to be able to affect all three of those. And one of the coolest ways is effective and efficient running styles. So I think it's really what we need to do is quit talking about shoes and talk about promoting effective running styles. And I think, I've taught with Blaise before, and that's, I think when it comes down to it, that's what he feels that the minimalist shoes do. And I don't want to speak for you, but it really does make a huge difference in people's ability to run efficiently. And I'm in full agreement with whether it's the way of getting there, or whether do you have to be able to do it? No, but it makes sense. And especially when you look at things like weight of the shoe, it does make a big difference as far as VO2 usage itself. So if this is a nice stolen slide from anybody that knows Jörg Feldman from BC. He's a weird physiologist out of Cornell, but he has some very good ideas. And of course, this is based upon Noak's work on the extended central governor model. This is one thing we need to think about, is with our runners, our 3 or 4 hour runners that are coming to see you, if you can give them any way to become more efficient so that to bring down their VO2 demand, you can actually shut down the extended central governor model and allow the body to be able to not vasoconstrict, in other words, to shut down your ability to be able to get the blood flow going through the system itself. So that's a very simple thing to do. Even if right now, the biggest trend that's out there right now is respiratory training. And we spend quite a bit of time on respiratory training with my clients. But you guys can make a huge difference. Instead of sending them out of your stores running poorly, you could actually do a lot better by actually spending the time to teach them how to be able to run correctly and move them in the right direction that way. I get to quote Simon. This is from 5 days ago off the sportscientists.com. And I read it and I loved it because of the fact that for the last 2 years, that's exactly what we've been doing. We've identified transition shoes that we can actually move people through in a standardized progression, and it's worked beautifully. And what it's done is really cut down on any injury rates. And when you talk to Luke, what it's also done from a retail perspective, it's cut down on return rates by a huge percentage because of the fact that people are very happy to make this move. Because of the fact that they're not injured, they do find it a lot more fun to run in a shoe that weighs significantly less and is less controllable. So the idea behind this and what I'm presenting on tomorrow, just to segue into it, is the PASDEX. It's a way that we actually can help define appropriate shoe selection for you guys using simple static and dynamic tests, very low tech, reliable and repeatable, because there's some other movements afoot for identifying shoe selection based upon things like goniometric measurement. A certain range of motions required, certain strength is required to be able to run with this running style, and none of this has been proven in any way. And any kind of goniometric measurement, in other words, measuring ranges of motion, can you imagine this happening in your retail environment? Actually measuring people and determining what shoe they should go on based upon that, when we can't take two physiotherapists and measure the same angle twice and get the same answer between us, nor within ourselves one day to the next. So we need something that's really reliable and repeatable, simple to train, because it's the nature of the beast in your guys' industry of having a significant turnover. It needs to be fairly simple to teach and needs to be efficient and effective. So our solution was to be able to come out with a referral card system and an internal training mechanism, because again, a majority of your people don't come through people like me. And you guys can be able to identify these people really well by using the system. So I would refer a person over with a shoe type. That's it. I don't like to tell shoe retailers what shoe to put them in, because I have no idea which shoe would fit them the best. I think it's really inappropriate for healthcare practitioners to tell you guys what you guys know the best. So I make a suggestion. I give you an FPI 6 score, which you guys will learn about tomorrow. And I tell you where I want some of the control, whether it's rear foot, midfoot, or central, if any, and then whether there's plus or minus an orthotic or not. In most cases, like I said, 99% of the time, there is really no need for an orthotic. When you do, it does not have to be a rigid orthotic, only in the very, very smallest of cases themselves. Shaking hands with the devil, I like this one. So I have to give credit. I have to give credit to Luke. I mean, he attended the full 3-day course of Blazes, and I think it was just as beneficial for Blaze as it was for Luke, because the fact that some of the retail reality needs to be met head on of what you guys, what stresses this new movement has put on you guys. It's very difficult to be able to stock your full line, and now you've got a whole bunch of other stuff to carry as well. I think that's extremely difficult thing for you guys to have to be able to do. But I give credit to Luke for sitting in for the 3 days, and I think it's made a huge difference. And I think we've proven in the Halifax region that you can actually have a concrete response to the minimalist movement in a very positive way, versus butting up against it. And that's a conversation that Luke and I had in between us. You guys are all about the experience. I'm afraid for you guys. With the web, the ability to buy off the web now, the lack of loyalty, you guys are going to have a harder and harder time actually keeping the loyalty. And I really see the push forward for the retailers to be part of their experience, to be a part of making them better, to be concerned about their injuries, and actually being very much forward on your science and the application of your science. I think that's what's going to differentiate whether they come to yours, or whether they buy online, or whether they go to a big box store. Now we get to hear the interesting response.